When popular trainer driver Clint Warrington arrived here from Ontario a few years back, Warrington immediately caught the interest of horsemen here at the Downs. But unfortunately, things didn't go that well at the beginning to some strange twists and turns, which we're going to let Clint tell you himself.
I used to drive for Larry McAuliffe at Windsor and Sarnia because he had a bad back. And then once he came out here, he worked for Little Dudes, Rankers. He wanted me to come out because he had 30, 35 head of horses. And I decided to come out and try it, which I only came out for 3 days. And the time I come out, it did nothing but snow, rain, sleet. I said, I don't know about this place. So I went back home, I told my wife, I said, it's a nice place, but I said the weather wasn't that great. And then Larry kept calling and calling. He says, come on out for 2 or 3 weeks and then try it. Tell me what you think after 2 or 3 weeks. So I did that. And then I went to work and called my wife up and I said, yeah, why don't you pack up? And I said, come on out here and won't you give it a try? And then I was working for Little Dudes with Larry. And then it just happened to work out. There was a little conflict because 2 guys working in the same place. I thought we were good friends. And I got let go. So when I got let go, I went to see Mr. Murphy because he has the biggest operation going in BC. And I figure with his horsepower and what I know, maybe I can get something done. So I went to see Mr. Murphy and he gave me a job, but he said for the next 6 or 7 weeks you have to go to Kelowna and break babies with Kelly McMillan. So I said, okay, no problem.
You were willing to do anything.
Oh, I got a family. I had kids. I gotta go work and put food on the table. So then it happened to work out that Mr. Murphy always wants you to have 20 head of horses for each trainer. So then I had a lot of race horses. And by having race horses, it's nice. You put them in the right class, but when you have 6 or 7 trainers that he has here in BC, it's very hard to get your horse raced every week. And the reason is because he wants the winning horse to be in the box. But that's what happens when you have only one track and you have 5 or 6 trainers. They can't all be in the same race.
Kind of tough.
Yes, it is. Very tough. And it's tough for a trainer to keep a horse fit, not knowing that you're going to get the race this week or next week. It's always worked out with him. The better horse gets the race.
What's the desire to drive?
Well, I'll put it to you this way. A guy told me one time, when you actually grab a hold of lines and you could put 2 fingers in the handholds and you know for a fact that you're getting the job done and you're numb, which you're numb as of to say, you know what, it's not, I've never done drugs, but it's almost like a natural high. You're out there and you're doing your job and it comes easy and you're in the right place at the right time. What more could you ask for?
You drove with and were around some pretty good people, which a lot of people out here don't realize.
Oh, Stanley Dancer, it was great. I mean, when I went to work for him, he told me right off the bat, he says, you know how I run my operation? You know what I want. I said, no problem. I started cleaning run-ins down back, run-in sheds where the broodmares are at, had a tractor. And then the following year, I started rubbing horses for him. I started working for him when I was 12 years old. And then, plus going to school. And then the following year, I started rubbing horses for him in the summertime. And then the following year after that, we went on the Grand Circuit, which that would be Springfield, Indianapolis, DuQuoin, and then Lexington. Well, Billy Houghton, he was a different guy than Stanley Dancer. Stanley Dancer was the kind of guy, he wants you on time, he runs a tight ship, he wants everything polished, he wants everything put away, he wants everything up to date, and it's like anything else. You cross your T's and you dot your I's. Billy Houghton was the kind of guy that he didn't know that many caretakers because he had so many people work for him, but anybody and everybody loved him.
You were around Herbie Fillion, another Hall of Fame. Man, you've been around some great guys. What was it like being around him?
Well, Hervé told me, I seen him down Freehold when I was a kid, and I always wanted to ask him what was in his briefcase, because he always had a briefcase. He looked like he was going to work. He looked like George Steinbrenner going, to work, or not a tie, but a leather coat on, and I mean, looked really presentable all the time. And I said to him, I said, Mr. Fillion, what do you have in that briefcase? He said, I'd like to know. He said, oh, you want to see? He said, come here. Open it up, got pads, papers, pens, clips, paper clips and everything. And I says to him, I said, you carry that briefcase every day. He said, well, that's the problem with the business. He said, you got to be a professional. He says, when you carry a briefcase and you look presentable and you got to shave and you got your hair done just right, he said, people like to be around you. They like your appearance. But when I used to drive against him, which when I first started driving a freehold, he taught me more about driving than anybody else. Because if you come first over with a horse, he would always tell you, take it easy, kid, take it easy. He said, don't get in a hurry. He said, you still got another quarter to go. He said, you got the 2 favorites locked in the hole. He said, don't let them guys out.
The whip, the Z as I like to call him, Rick Cerrone.
Yeah.
You rode with him in Montreal?
Yeah, I was when I was 18, I went to Montreal and I drove some horses. Now, Rick the Whip used to go work and give a whip out at every race that he won. And I'll tell you one thing, he's a very good driver. He'd keep a horse going for a long, long time, but he knows the business better than anybody. He knows how to talk, he knows how to present himself, he knows how to go out with his owners. He trains anywhere between 20 and 25 head of horses in Toronto, and he does good every year.
How many horses do you have now?
I help Walter and Renee Viss. They've been very, very good to me for the last 2 years here. I used to drive some horses for them 3 years ago, but now they have about 8 horses, and I help them in the morning. And plus I have a horse called Power Builder, which he was 3rd last night in 55, and an 8-claimer. But also in this last sale, the yearling sale, we bought a filly. Neil Juan bought her, and I'm training her for him. Right now, I would like to go work and get an owner that was in the business at one time here, that not actually got sour, but just couldn't afford the overhead, you know, and now has a little bit more money, has a little bit more sense about the business, knows how the business operates, and would like to get back into it. And I'd like to have anywhere between 8, 10 horses. That's what I like to do. But what I don't want to do is, and I won't do it, the last day of the meet here, I will not sit around for 3 months. See, I'm the kind of guy, I got to drive every day. Now, when I used to race in Jersey, we used to race 6 days a week at Freehold, and then 6 nights at the Meadowlands, and then 6 nights at Yonkers. So I can drive a Freehold in the afternoon, get in my vehicle, and then go to Yonkers at night and drive there too. So I was making some good money. I mean, like them driver's checks, they were looking pretty good. But here, what happens is those 3 months being off, I can't do it. I mean, I did it this year because, you know, we were like, you know, touch and go, whatever. But I told her, I said, as soon as we get done, that last day here, I said that I'll have my colors all packed up. And even if I don't take any horses, I could still go somewhere else and still drive. And I can go off my name and who I've worked for before, and I can still get drives. I'm very confident that way.